You've probably heard that long-term rentals are the easy, safe way to build wealth. But what if that's also the reason that you're not hitting your financial goals? Let's unpack that right now. LTRs, meaning long-term rentals, seem like the smart choice, right? Consistent income, they're easy, long-term tenants, don't have to deal with them all the time. But what if there was a better way to be able to hit your true financial goals on the back end? Because look, there's one thing that is super important to me. One thing. As an investor and an entrepreneur, if I pull out a C note out of my pocket, $100, that's it, and I'm gonna put that someplace to try to get a return, I wanna put it into the best vehicle that is accessible to me. And that just is not long-term rentals in today's economy. It is short-term rentals. Specifically in real estate, short-term rentals is the #1 returning asset class, and it has advantages that you cannot get, specifically through long-term rentals, that I will unpack as we go through this video. Look, I've owned both long-term rentals, short-term rentals, multifamily. I built a multi-million-dollar gold LEED certified commercial building. I've done it all. But there is absolutely no question. Right now, today, 2025, two things I'm gonna share with you. Number one, it is the best time in our lifetime to invest into real estate. And number two, the #1 asset class is short-term rentals. Here's why. Most investors default to long-term rentals with single-family homes because it's kind of the tortoise and the hare. And we are all trained. And I was trained this way with people that when I was starting to invest in my 20s into real estate, buy and hold long-term, buy and hold long-term. And I held on to a property for 19 years. 19 years that I bought in my 20s and I sold in my 40s. And did I make good money on that? Yes. But if I did that today, I am leaving so much on the table because the #1 thing that we miss is the tax advantages. That's literally like the biggest thing in short-term rentals outside of the cash flow. And I can't emphasize this enough, that the cash flow in short-term rentals is typically 4 to 7 times higher than long-term rentals. And I get that a lot of you say, oh my God, it's just, there's so much more risk. What's the risk? You can always default and go back to a long-term rental or even a mid-term rental. So when you underwrite the property and you underwrite it as a short-term and a mid-term and a long-term, you've got options. I don't know about you, but I like options and I like mitigating my risk, but I'm still gonna go to short-term because of the cash flow. There's nothing when you buy it that says you gotta do short-term rentals, mid-term, or long-term, right? Now there may be some regulation. You don't wanna buy in the wrong spot, and regulation can say you can't do short-term and you gotta have a 30-day minimum. But if you buy in the right spot, you have the ability to do all three. And which one are you gonna choose? Are you gonna choose the one that's gonna give you $1,200, $1,500 a month in free cash flow? Or are you gonna choose the one that's doing $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 in free cash flow? I'll share a quick story with you. I really have never told this, but the way that I got into short-term rentals, I'm literally playing golf in 2015, and a friend of mine owned a condo in the same building that I owned a condo in downtown Nashville. And I'm getting $2,200 a month for a 2-bedroom condo back then in the premier building. I'm on floor 3. He's on floor 8. And he was getting about $2,600 a month. And it pissed me off that he made more money. But what really opened my eyes, kind of pissed me off at first, but then opened my eyes, is when he had switched to doing this thing called AirBNB. And he said, Bill, I just made $9 grand last month. And I called BS. The next Friday we played golf, he brought the numbers and he brought me his Airbnb listing and he showed it to me and I was in awe. And it took him a couple of months and we chatted about, we played golf almost every Friday together, but then I saw what he was doing. And I asked him the golden question, is this more work than short-term rentals? And he said, not really. It's taking me an hour or two a week to be able to manage this. And then he told me about the tax benefits. So I get the same appreciation, I get more cash flow, and I get these ridiculous tax benefits that I can't get anyplace else. That had me hooked, and that's what got me into short-term rentals because I couldn't find that anyplace else, and neither can you today. So I know a lot of you are, Bill, that's great. I would love to do that, but I don't understand how you can do this in a couple of hours a week. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now that I spend less than probably 5 to 6 hours a week on my entire $22 million portfolio of short-term rentals. Without virtual assistants, I just have the right technology in place and the automation. in place. And that's the thing that I don't want you to think that this is going to turn into a big headache. That's one of the payoffs of getting into short-term rentals, when you can go, and the technology is great. I mean, I use a couple of pieces of technology that I'll put the link down in the notes. I just went through this in the last video that I released. Look, are you a short-term rental owner just like me? You could be a co-host, maybe even a property manager, and you struggle with the back end, the bookkeeping, the credit card reconciliation. Well, if you're not familiar with Baselane, you need to take a look at them, because that's completely changed my life and my relationship with QuickBooks. I don't know if I should say that or not, but literally, it's the bane of my existence. Baselane has AI that's implemented, and it's made mine and my wife's, Bria's, life so much easier to take care of all of our properties, from a co-hosting side to the side that we own. It's an absolute game changer, and literally it's saving us thousands of dollars a month based on our time to have to reconcile our books. The AI feature is just absolutely sick inside of Baselane. Plus they have banking that goes along with it, and they give us 3.35% interest. They have debit cards. So now we can follow the asset protection and silo everything, right? Banking, bookkeeping, all in one spot. Dedicated debit card, 3.35%. What are you waiting for? I switched to Baselane, and I recommend you do too. But really, this ends up being mindset. And there's a couple of things that I think is absolutely critical for you. Number one, if you're going to jump in for the very first time, or if you're looking to make your next investment, I want you to open up the entire country. And here's the thing that I firmly believe, and I see this every day. You need to invest where you have an interest. I can't emphasize this enough. You need to invest where you have an interest. Because if you invest into a market or a property that you're just doing strictly for money, right? You know, Johnny Manziel doesn't have enough attention span. If he doesn't love something, he's not going to do it, right? And that's not why we want to invest. We want to get that return out of it, but we've got to have a keen interest in it. From the guest type that's going to be there, to the location, what's around the market. I'll give you a really great example. Hot Springs, Arkansas. I could have made millions of dollars there over the last 3 years, but I wasn't interested in it. So I want you to be interested in the market. This is something that's super important, right? Because if it's not, then it's going to become a burden for you. And that's kind of what this whole video is about. It's about how you can make more money, take advantage of the taxes, build bigger wealth, but you've got to have an interest in it. I can't emphasize that enough. I don't want this to become a headache for you. The last thing that I want to talk about, which is the number 3, is going to be the systemization of your processes, right? And this is like with any business. We've got to have the mentality and treat our short-term rental like a business, because where you do get into that time suck is when this is your side hustle, or it's your lifestyle asset, and you're really not building out systems and treating it like a business. So number 1, we want to keep this isolated. Big thing that a lot of people don't talk about, when you buy this, it needs its own LLC. If you're going to close on it, I would highly recommend closing in an LLC, even a Wyoming LLC, regardless of what state you live in, to give you anonymity and a little bit of liability protection. And even if you already own one and you bought a Fannie and Freddie, you can convert that into an LLC, right? But then you want the banking accounts, its own bank account, its own debit card, its own credit card. Then you want to make sure that you have the systemization in place of the messaging when somebody books with you. The automated pricing, that's why we use dynamic pricing. That's why I love Future Stay, because it has direct bookings, it has the PMS, it has the automated messaging, and it also has the dynamic pricing. Or you can use something like Price Labs for dynamic pricing, right? So those messaging tools are critical to save you time. The pricing tools are critical to save you time. The PMS, you have all your revenue, you can run a statement, you have everything inside of it. And from a protection standpoint, you are siloing everything that you're doing on the banking side. So make sure to watch the next video, because if you already own properties, I'm going to break this down to see if you should hold or if you should sell. And I think you're going to be surprised.